subscribe to Junk Drawer Videos. And if you don't...
Spooky, scary skeletons and shivers down your spine. Shrieking skulls will shock your soul, seal your doom tonight. Spooky, scary skeletons.
Hey guys, my name's Adam if this is your first time here, and today I'm gonna review Venom, which is pretty much what everybody's been doing. Before I do it, unlike them, well, unlike some of them, I am going to provide some street credit. I'm not just some guy who doesn't really know the Venom character. You can tell that I've actually read the comics because they're in terrible condition. This one doesn't even have a cover. This is probably my favorite comic, at least as a kid. This is the final confrontation between this guy and this guy, where this guy finally turns into a good guy. Personally, I actually think it's where Venom kind of jumped the shark. This is the lead up to it. This is probably the first comic that I ever bought with my own money. This is where I really fell in love with the Venom character. So yeah, I'm very well versed in Venom. I know a lot about this character, so I have a lot to say. What did I think about this movie? Well, it's a Venom movie without Spider-Man. Why it's a Venom movie without Spider-Man, I don't really understand. But they could have put a Spider-Man in this movie just to get the origin done, and even done a prequel movie of Spider-Man, spin-off, whatever. Obviously not the MCU Spider-Man, but they could have put a version of Spider-Man, sort of like Quicksilver had done. But they chose not to do that. They chose to make a Venom movie without Spider-Man. With that said, I can appreciate what they tried to do. In the comic books, Eddie Brock has a grudge against Peter Parker, and the symbiote has a grudge against Spider-Man. They form together to create Venom, and they know that Spider-Man and Peter Parker are the same person, and they hate him. I always felt like the Spider-Man, the Venom situation is almost like an ex-girlfriend. The symbiote sort of was with Spider-Man, and now she's with the guy that Spider-Man hates the most, and she knows all of Spider-Man's secrets, and she's gonna get back at him with Eddie Brock or whatever. This makes an interesting character. This is what made me love Venom, because Eddie Brock is a socially inept person. He believes that he is the hero of his own story, so anyone that crosses him must be the villain of his story. Therefore, Spider-Man is a monster and needs to be killed violently, as violently as possible. What I loved about Venom as a kid is most of the bad guys that you see in children's TV shows and comic books or whatever, they're just bad because they're bad. They want to kill Superman because he's just so good and they're so bad or whatever. But Venom, he honestly believed that he was a good guy, and he was going to do whatever it took to be a good guy and put an end to this evil other character. They can't do that in this movie because Spider-Man is not in this movie. In this movie, they've done a good job of making a reasonable approximation of that. Spider-Man's not in this movie, but there is somebody who the symbiote doesn't like, that Eddie Brock doesn't like, and when they get together, they set their sights sort of on it, although the symbiote seems to just want to kill anything. Whatever. Where this reasonable proximity, as I've called it, falls short is the guy's a bad guy. It's cool that they both have their sights set on the same person, but the whole point of it is that they both get together and they go, you know, screw that guy, even though he's actually a good guy. In this, he's a bad guy. It's a good attempt, but it sort of misses the mark. I don't believe that Eddie is the same Eddie Brock that's in the comic books because he's not that socially inept. I don't even know if I would, like, if there's a symptom. It's not a narcissist or whatever, but it's something. I'm sure there's a psychological word for it. I don't know. I'm not a psychologist. The other thing is, and this is a nitpicky thing that I think old school fans will agree with, but I think new school fans will say I'm wrong about. When I read the comics, Eddie Brock was Eddie Brock, the symbiote was the symbiote, but when they got together, they were Venom. Their personalities sort of amalgamated, created Venom. And in this, they just call the symbiote Venom. However, I understand that I'm probably wrong on that because the symbiote has gone on to possess other people, to bond with other people, and they still call the symbiote Venom. So these are a lot of things that, as a Venom fan, I'm nitpicking. I still think that a lot of Venom fans are gonna like this movie. It's the best version of Venom that's been on screen so far, and it's the first version that we've seen in 11 years, which is crazy to say because it only feels like maybe 6 or so years since Spider-Man 3, but no, it's 2007 and we're in 2018. I would say it's a far more accurate version of Venom than we saw previously. With that said, not as accurate as I would have liked. It was very cool to see the internal monologue. Tom Hardy as Eddie Brock dealing with this internal monologue that is Venom. That was really cool, and I hope that we get to see that explored a little bit more in the sequels. For me, it was cool to see Venom on screen, a more accurate version, although not a completely accurate version. So as a movie, let's get back to the, like, I've done movie reviews, so I can review this with myself aside. As a movie, I can't recommend it to anybody else because, honestly, I don't want to say that Eddie Brock doesn't go through any character development. There was an honest attempt. You can see them putting things in there, and it's like Eddie's supposed to grow. I can plot out how he grows, but it just felt shoehorned in. It wasn't an honest. It just wasn't. It didn't feel right. Other things that I look for when I think a movie is good is a universal theme, some sort of theme that we're supposed to take from the movie, and if the character doesn't really grow, the theme just isn't there. The theme that I got is that CGI is awesome. CGI in this movie is not. I don't think it's great. One thing that I might have appreciated when I was younger is the movie starts out with very little CGI, and it sort of eases into it and puts a little bit more. However, by the end of it, it's just a CGI mess. It's a CGI fight by the end of the movie. I like seeing Venom. I wouldn't recommend it I wouldn't recommend this to too many people. There's a little bit of two sides to that. So Venom fans are going to pick apart the parts that aren't Venom, but they're going to appreciate seeing Venom on screen. Non-Venom fans they're not going to see that, and they're just going to see this interesting character because he is an interesting character, and they may not like the other aspects like the CGI or whatever of the movie. So it's hard to say where most people will fall on it. And that's probably why this movie's been getting mixed reviews. There are 2 end credits to this movie. One, I think you could probably skip entirely. The second one, but whatever. It's an interesting one if you're a fan of Spider-Man, I guess. The first one, though, is you're going to want to see it. They introduce a new character. You could probably guess who that character is. They had a interesting casting for it. I thought it was the right way to go. Heard other people say they want to see other names attached to it. Never really saw it. I think this was the right casting choice for it. I'm actually interested in seeing where it goes. I don't know if they will make a sequel to this movie because the reviews are not great. Tom Hardy has said that the best scenes were removed from the movie. I haven't seen those scenes, so I can't say that for sure. Hopefully they put it into the DVD extras. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope I was helpful. If you like Venom, check out the movie. It's the best Venom movie that they've made so far. That's all I have to say. Thanks for watching, and have a good day.